Yo, 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 yo! What's up, all you burners, stoners, and potheads out there? This is Weedman 420 with the Weedman 420 Chronicles. How are all you vipers doing out there, Mrs. Weedman?
Mr. Weedman.
How the hell are you?
Doing great.
I love it, love it, love it. Hey, everybody out there in the world. Hopefully you're smoking big fat doinks while you're listening to the show. Hopefully everyone's doing great. We actually have a special guest in the house tonight.
Miss Yuki.
Yes! We're giving it a try. The first time that she's been in the studio recording, and she's doing good so far. We're only 34 seconds in. So we'll see what happens.
She'll be fine.
We're trying to train her to be a part
She'll
of the
be
show. Fine. Yep. So we're going to smoke. Again, we're already a little stoned because we hit the Zenko about an hour before the show because we were watching Bachelorette, and what is it called?
Bachelor, or what is it called? Something in Paradise.
Bachelor in Paradise?
Or is it Bachelorette in Paradise?
Is it both? I don't know. You were watching it, and we smoked a big fat rip off the Zenko, and I'm high. So about to get even higher for the show. But we had a really fun weekend, and I'm going to let Mrs. Weeman tell you about it while I spark up this joint first, and then I'm going to talk about the strain.
So we got invited to an underground cannabis gathering, and it was in the city. It was at a newer building near the lake and the river, and part of the building is a hotel, part of the building is condos. So it was pretty cool. Like the day of, they dropped the address of where you had to go. It was a long party. It was a 5-hour gathering. So you had to get there. You go to the residence counter. They check you off the list, and you get to go up the elevator to the party room for the condos. And they had this whole party room just decked out. They had food service. They were serving small bites of food. There was a huge outdoor rooftop deck area for smoking cannabis outside.
The place was nice.
Yeah. There was a DJ. There were some cannabis vendors. There was like an urban streetwear clothing brand showing their stuff. There were girls that were like cocktail waitresses in lingerie, but it was perfectly green, just like weed. And they were serving doses of the Zenko. Yep. And you had tokens for your doses, and then it just went on and on. It was an awesome, awesome event. We went there. We stayed for about 3 hours, and I don't know. I got a little too high.
You hit 2 rips of the Zenko that had a very strong, delicious sativa cartridge in there.
And I was puffing on a pen.
And you were puffing on pens.
We had a joint.
Yeah. And
it was fun.
It was strong.
Yeah.
So, and we smoked that whole joint. And
it was just fun. It was this huge, I would say there were a couple hundred people there.
Yeah.
Throughout the time we were there, coming and going. Most of the people, I would say, were probably in their 30s and 40s. Small groups of people, single people. It was a huge spread of demographic. I mean, it was just, and everybody awesome. Was just so cool. It was such a chill
cannabis community.
It was a really nice event.
Yeah, really
we had a great time.
Really good.
I look forward to those being legit, just something that's happening all the time.
Just a great vibe. The DJ was awesome. The music
great.
the DJ was playing was amazing. It was spot on for just the atmosphere we were at. We were high, and I was rolling joints for people. First time the tray set came out of the closet, I guess.
Yeah,
right? It came out of the house.
Yeah, so got a lot of looks.
Got a lot of love, and it was so much fun. And I met a lot of cool people because I was rolling joints for people, and they were coming, or stuffing joints for people, and they were coming by. Some people threw me some weed, and some people threw me some wraps. And these guys who I met, the name of their brand is called We Tree Huggers, and they gave me a couple of wraps, blunt cones, and they're premium organic, and they are made with tea leaves. And these things are really, really, really good. The taste that it leaves on your lips is really nice. I mean, I can just keep this in my mouth and like a cigar. That's how good this thing tastes. Oh my God, I can't wait for you to try this. And I'm gonna pass this over to Mrs. Weedman. She's gonna smoke it. I'm gonna tell you what we're smoking. But it was the Green Tint Party. Great stuff. A lot of fun. Great time. Good vibe. The Metro Black. Thank you for the invite. It was a special night, a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of cool people in the cannabis just cannabis community. It was great. And he gave me a couple nugs, which I'm real excited about, of Red Line Haze. And this is a sativa dominant strain. And it's crossing Wedding Crasher and Ghost Train Haze. It's got a really nice appearance, really nice trichomes on it. It's beautiful looking. This one's running about 25%. And the effects of this is creative, energizing, euphoria, focus, motivation, uplifting. And the symptoms it relieves is depression, fatigue, headaches, migraines, and stress. Some of the flavors you might get from this is citrus, peppery, piney, sour, spicy. And some of the aromas are berry, citrus, earthy, fruity, and sweet. So it's nice. I'm going to be fucking lit up here in a minute because I hit it like 4 or 5 times before I passed it to you because you told that nice long story. I'm good.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm good right now.
It was good. I actually ground all this weed up because I was using it to do photos for the 8 Decades social media account. And so I ground up a bunch of the weed, and it was nice and sticky, and it had like the smell of the color purple. So like artificial grape smell.
Yeah.
But it's natural, obviously.
Yeah. No, it's
But
real nice.
It was pretty cool.
Yeah, real nice wrap. So what else? We are watching 2 different shows right now.
Mm-hmm.
We are watching the Great British Baking Show, and we're doing that fantasy league thing with it. And Mr. Weedman's in the lead right now with 4 points. Mrs. Weedman actually scored some on the board last night. She's got 3. Paulie's got 3, and we didn't finish the episode because we fell asleep on the last part, so we didn't see who Star Baker is. So I don't know who's in the lead right now. Right now, it's just me. So, but not for long. And so that's been fun. And then also the other show we're watching right now, which is the fucking most disturbing shit I've fucking ever seen. And I don't know, I can't watch it like back to back. I have to give my mind a break from it. And that's the Jeffrey Dahmer story. Holy fuck. That shit
Creepy.
is fucked up. That dude is fucked up. I mean, like, I had a nightmare the other night. I woke up in the sweats.
The Schwetz?
The sweats.
Schwetz?
Sweats. Like
That show is creepy. Like I have to
creepy.
decompress and have some like really
You
dummy.
gotta watch like babies running in
I
the
need
walls
like
for a minute.
I'm like okay, I need some puppy videos. I need
Yeah.
some baby laughing videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
need like some really happy stuff after you watch that show.
Shit is disturbing.
Whoa.
Disturbing. So I
heavy
don't
duty.
suggest if you don't like
You're
shows
sensitive
like
to
that,
stuff that yeah.
don't
yeah.
watch it. Like I need like a few days to like get my mind back right.
Like we watched Dexter, but it's just like a different level because Dexter is just made up.
Yeah.
And then you watch this dude, and it's like he really did. Like someone did this. Shit.
Right. 100%. So
That's wacky.
yeah, I think we got like 4 more episodes left, and I'm not.
The
planning on
episode
watching
with
it tonight.
the head in the box was
Oh.
it was just like
And he kissed
and he was kissing it. Ugh.
fucking creepy.
What is
What
wrong?
a fucking man.
Whew.
Ugh.
Okay.
All right.
All right, moving
You ready
on.
to start the show?
Let's start the show.
All right. THC and terps. Cannabis provides an entourage of useful compounds, and while THC remains king, terpenes are coming for the crown. THC, or tetrahydrocannabinol, is a principal psychoactive compound found in cannabis. Prohibitive cannabis laws define the plant-based THC levels. So, and there is multiple reasons for seeking high THC levels in products beyond shooting for the most potent effect. One benefit of high THC products for medical patients, for instance, is the high THC products can provide relief while limiting the amount of smoke and thus reducing harm. So, the chemistry of higher THC products. SC Science of Cannabis Labs opened in 2010 in Capitola, California. Co-founder Jeff Gray, Josh Woozer, Alec Dixon, and Ian Rice. The company helped develop some of the industry's first testing standards. Early on, we emphasizing testing cannabinoids and specifically THC. The THC content became very associated with perception of quality in cannabis. That was the only quantitative metric you had to describe the cannabis, the percentage of the cannabinoids. Examining high THC levels was one of Woozer's focuses, and he applied for several cannabis-related patents, some related to the improvement of the extraction of cannabis. Today, many people still equate higher THC concentrates with better quality. This is just not the case, he says. When we look at these different events, High Times Cannabis Cup, the Emerald Cup, the winners usually don't have any higher THC percentage. They almost always have a greater average terpene concentration. What consumers should be looking for is the terpene concentration of the products they're buying. The overemphasis on THC is partly due to chemistry and the way THC is quickly depleted. THC is, in fact, surprisingly quiet, delicate once the smoking process begins. The THC percentage isn't really the important of the inhalable product. Wozer continues. You're exhaling vast majority of the THC, which we've talked about. You're inhaling. Really, you could just hold the hit a little longer, but the THC concentration doesn't even necessarily get you higher. What makes cannabis taste better and what makes the effects more pronounced is the terpene concentration, and that's where the consumer should be looking. While it's the most powerful psychoactive compound of cannabis, THC is the best experienced the natural way, combined with other compounds. The highest THC concentrates. Just how high the THC percentage can concentrates get. Some approach pure THC. I've seen people make 99% concentrate distillates, purified THC, but I won't want to smoke it, says the little director of the lab. I wouldn't want to consume it. It would taste bad. It would be harsh. The higher concentration concentrates are generally not the most desirable. If the taste matters, a better metric for determining the quality of concentrates would be the quite of lower amount of THC, he says. The way terps are preserved in live resin is one of the ways concentrates help improve over the past decade or so. Good live resin concentrates should be anywhere from 60 to 80%, and that's going to be the most flavorful, he says. I've seen the best effects on live resin, and it's generally considered to be much more premium product than, say, like distillates that in the 90s and have an artificial terpenes added to it. Yeah. Dixon says that on the culture side of things, it's always been known to farmers that terpene content is a more productive indicator of quality. Evident when you open up a jar and bomb, the whole neighborhood will smell a great pot in your neighborhood. We were talking to a friend of ours yesterday. He said he was walking through our neighborhood and he goes, "It smells like weed everywhere I go now." Yeah, it's great, isn't it? Smell and aroma directly coordinates towards, Dixon says, in their absent, it's quite bland THC effect. Unfortunately, the market is so focused on THC, it's bound to be terpless and soulless. Part of what we do with the Emerald Cup and California State Fair is everything by terpene. It comes down to personal preference. To me, my favorite profiles are Gas and Haze, the Terpeline Jack Herrera strain. So, before I read a little bit more, we've had people on the show. They talk about taste matters. I've said it. I'm not a big on the higher THC. We smoked a strain, and here's why I'm going at this. We smoked a strain on Saturday. Someone gave us a nug. I rolled a joint. I wanted to try his strain. I could tell it wasn't home grow. I could tell it was from, whatever, from a dispensary or wherever he gets it from. And it was hard. It had an okay smell. But when we smoked it, that shit was harsh.
It was harsh.
Fucking throat burn.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was
I couldn't
bad.
smoke it.
The high was there.
Yeah.
I mean, we were high, but
the taste was bad.
Oh man,
and it was so hot.
I couldn't even. We didn't even finish it.
No.
I mean, and we rolled a dog walker, which usually we can finish a dog walker between the two of us, and I couldn't finish it. I'm like, I just put it down. So. And Mrs. Weedman goes, "Was that your weed?" I'm like, "Fuck no, that wasn't my weed." She goes, "I was the guy."
That's
I'm like,
good.
"Yeah." So, high THC from a consumer perspective. Green Wolf Dispensaries has won many Cannabis Cups awards, too many to list in full, but a few concentrate wins stand out. In 2017, Green Wolf took home a barrage of awards of the Cannabis Cup, winning first place for Best Sativa Concentrate with their offerings of Nectarine. Sounds delicious. Green Wolf won Best Non-Solventless Hash for Clementine in collaboration with Rosin Brothers. Green Wolf is known for throughout the Southern California as a trusted retailer. The Green Wolf team is used to people asking about THC levels and the importance to the smoking experience. Come to find out, they are bombarded with these questions daily. I've been talking to actual customers all morning. And it's interesting because I feel like maybe 2 years ago, people literally just came in and they didn't care what the strain was called or who grew it. All they wanted was the bud tender to say how high was the THC percentage. Caffrey says in the last year or so, people are getting more and more educated about what defines quality cannabis, and they're starting to realize that the THC percentage is not always the sole compound that produces the plant's effects. The terpenes play a large role in the actual effects that you feel, Caffrey says, and I do believe that the consumer is starting to realize this. Caffrey doesn't really see anything over 40%, except for infused pre-rolls when it comes to flower. I'd like the consumer to finally starting to have a brand loyalty in what I call the new market, and they're doing their own research, which is great, she says. Caffrey explains that people don't realize that the feeling they get from a good sativa that has 20% THC but is grown well, might also have high limonene percentages, which can provide a mood boost. Oh, yeah, we had a really good mood boost about an hour ago. And I'm having a good mood boost right now because very low THC, moderate. I like the 20s. Low 20s is like my fave, and a good terpene profile. Man, I get baked. So when you're choosing THC, if you're going for THC, like they say in this article, it's more for the medical use of it. If you're going for flavor and you're going for a good solid high that can give you that good high you're looking for, look at the terpene concentrate. Also, look at like what the blend is of cannabinoids too. You will find the full effects of weed will be so much better for you, and you won't like find out like people who smoked like a 40% sativa strain and got all fucking freaked out and went crying home, because they didn't know what they were doing. Learn. Ask, read, go online, and you're looking at strains that you want to smoke, and you're going to a dispensary, read about the strains, find out all you can about it, and then go to that dispensary and say, I want this, this, and this, and then ask the bud tender if they tried it. And if they said no, okay, this is what it says, I'm going to try it. Then you can give the bud tender feedback next time you go in there and say, that strain that I bought last time I was here made me feel like this. So if you had anybody that feels like this, that's the strain for them. That's all. So, man, talk community, So, this is sad. And I'm pissed off about it because people are trying to say that someone finally died from weed, and this is not funny. I'm pissed off, and Mrs. Weedman is going to tell you all about it.
Yep. So, this article is titled, "No One Ever Died from Weed Until Now." OSHA report claims cannabis dust caused employee's death. Did someone breathe in enough cannabis dust, known as keef, enough that led to death? A federal agency is inquiring about the death of a worker in Holyoke in January and claims that she couldn't breathe after inhaling cannabis dust. According to an initial inspection report by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration of the U.S. Department of Labor, a worker passed away at the facility after filling pre-rolled joints and complaining that she was having trouble breathing. According to OSHA, the worker was packaging ground-up cannabis blossoms when she was harmed because of the dangers of ground cannabis dust. The report does not reveal the identity of the deceased employee, but the Young Jerks, a Massachusetts podcast group, identified the deceased employee. According to her obituary, Lorna McMurray was a 27-year-old who had just started to work at the Holyoke plant. According to the obituary, she died abruptly Friday in Bay State Medical Center, surrounded by her family. She was born in Springfield, a 2013 graduate of Westfield High School, and had lived in West Springfield for most of her life. Lorna Bruneau, McMurray's mother, revealed in a Commonwealth magazine article that she is contemplating suing the company for wrongful death. She stated that changes needed to be made to protect the workers. She affirmed that she doesn't want to see another person go through the similar incident. The OSHA report, without providing many specifics, the incident report mentions that McMurray could not breathe because of marijuana keef, or dust, around 11 p.m. on January 7th of 2022. Additionally, her employer was fined $35,219 by the Federal Labor Authority for alleged severe infractions. Keef describes the gooey powder that falls from the cannabis buds. According to OSHA, the business disregarded federal rules requiring firms to maintain documented hazard communication plans and safety data sheets on dangerous chemicals and offer training and adequate information on those substances. An ex-employee told the Young Jerks podcast that Lorna McMurray sadly died while handling keef in the company's Massachusetts production facility. The ex-employee claims to have left the facility 1 month or so before Lorna passed away due to terrible management and corruption within the company. Public records obtained from OSHA showed that the agency fined the company $6,215 for refusing to make a list of dangerous chemicals in the facility, which included ground cannabis. another fine of $14,502 for failing to create a safety data sheet for the substance, and $14,502 for failing to educate staff members about handling dangerous chemicals, such as exposure prevention, signs of skin contact and inhalation risks, and the precondition for medical attention. Each infraction was classified as significant and was required to stop by August 17th of 2022. In a response issued by MJ Biz Daily, the company noted that they won't go into specifics about what happened on that day out of regard for the family's privacy. OSHA, however, looked into the Holyoke site in great detail. There was PPE on hand. OSHA examined the facility's air quality, and all samples fell considerably below allowable limits. However, the company refuted OSHA's findings that it was cited for violating communication guidelines. OSHA stated that it concealed a section of the investigational file due to a valid exception while legal action was being taken. State officials are currently conducting at least one inquiry. According to the Cannabis Control Commission, this incident is being looked into. The agency confirms that their inquiry is still open and ongoing. The commission sympathized with the McMurray's family, stating that they will continue collaborating with public health officials to identify contributing factors. The commission takes the safety and welfare of patients, consumers, and registered agents seriously. According to state regulation, businesses are in charge of keeping their premises clean and reporting events involving public safety. The office of the district attorney and the state police for Hampton County were contacted for inquiries by the office of the Attorney General Maura Healey. Requests for information regarding the case received no response from the state police. According to a Holyoke police spokesperson, there is a record of an ambulance call on that particular day, but no other details were provided. According to Jim Layden, a spokesman for the Hampton District Attorney's Office, no criminal case involving McMurray's death is currently active. After getting a call about a medical emergency, Layden claimed McMurray passed away at the medical center. Because there appeared to be no criminal involvement in the death, the chief medical examiner's office declined to accept jurisdiction. So, all in all, regulators have cited the same company in the past. They imposed more fines for failing to comply with notifying OSHA when an employee undergoes hospitalization, amputation, or loses an eye. So it goes on and on. So there's a lot of ongoing complaints about this particular company, but it comes down to, it sounds like there weren't procedures in place to protect her lungs while she was working.
Yeah.
She didn't die from using cannabis. She died from the dust that the plant just naturally produces by working around it without proper like masking.
Yeah, well, like
or
when we had
procedure.
Umami on the show and DVG, and Umami said remember I was like talking about the pollen when they pollinate the males to collect the pollen. He has to wear full blown like those triple layer breathable mask because
Right.
the pollen you can die from if you inhalate. I mean, you think how many males he has in a room? He might have 40, 50, 100 males in a room, and he's shaking the shit out of them.
Yeah.
To pollinate the females.
Oh my gosh.
How much pollen is that room? You could die from that.
Yeah.
Inhalation in your lungs. You fucking ain't getting
Well, you
oxygen.
probably, I mean, you see, like in the spring when you walk outside
Yeah.
on a pollen heavy day, if you have a dark car, by the end of the day, you could like write your name in
Yeah,
it. It's
100%.
It's a layer.
Yeah, and think about keef. It comes from the plant when it's grinded. When you grind your cannabis up, all that great stuff that comes down. That's all like the trichomes and terpenes. And if you breathe that enough of that in at one time, it's just like being underwater. Your lungs are not getting oxygen. You're not getting what you need to breathe, and you're putting all that into your. So that's not any that the only fault that is not being properly trained.
Right.
You know, and now someone
And so it does fall on the responsibility of the employer.
100%.
Yeah.
You know, for not like
I think they've known that that's a risk for years and years about cannabis. Growers haven't they?
well, more so the pollen. I don't know so much about the keef, but I mean, this is a new era too, where people
where we're mass
are
producing.
right, but we're grinding so much weed to get that keef, and you're just so much.
There's so much.
You know, but I mean, this is just terrible that someone had to pass from this, and now we're gonna have to OSHA's and gonna have to make regulations, and this is what happens when you're not federally legal to have standards too. So that's what happens.
Just the fact that these companies are in business and there aren't standards.
Right. There's not standards. I'm not saying you have to go like crazy, but there should be health and safety standards, just like in any industry. So, and this is what happens because it's federally illegal. So, what happens to the scraps of cannabis? There's a lot of stuff you could do with it. There's a lot of stuff that, there's going to be a lot more and more scraps coming. So much it's going to be a really good business for somebody that knows how to do this and to be able to like collect scraps. So if you have something to start, like I said, if you need to get into a business, you can't get yourself a license to, you cold, Mrs. Weedman?
I'm cold.
There's a blanket behind you.
I'm good.
So there's a really good business to be able to become a scrapper. And have the processing plant to do that. Like I said, sometimes you got to pivot. You can't get a license to open a dispensary or a cultivation. Think of something else. This is something. There's going to be a lot of states opening up that are going to need somebody to take their waste away. Don't forget, they've been cured and trimmed. There remains a large amount of natural cannabis scraps to deal with. Not everybody uses it. Processing, they're only making what they can make. There's other stuff you can use. So, we shouldn't throw it all away. In today's legal and highly regulated market, a grower can't just toss cannabis scraps into the back of the greenhouse. That being the case, what happens to the part of the cannabis plant that doesn't get a person high? What is cannabis waste exactly? Many may picture cannabis waste as a tidy amount of plant stalks and unusable leaves, though it does not make up the large portion of the waste. There are also other forms of waste that can be a bit trickier and less green. Cannabis waste can be the material that's come from in contact with the cannabis throughout the cultivation, production, manufacturing, retail process, according to EcoWaste, a cannabis waste disposal service. There are sponges and chemicals used to clone, to propagate plants. There are unused products. There are used testing samples. This hodgepodge of cannabis waste raises proper disposal questions. Weed waste requires strict record keeping. Composting is the best, but sometimes a complicated option. Composting cannabis waste is often the best option for the environment and growers alike. The problem is simply throwing cannabis waste into a compost pile and walking away is not all right. Beyond proper documentation, the cannabis waste needs to be grounded, chopped, and mixed with non-weed waste to ensure it no longer resembles anything that could be sold as a cannabis product.
Jeez. Yeah. Why don't they just create hemp with it? Why don't they create fabrics?
I'm sure.
And products and hempcrete, and you would start building homes.
Speaking of hempcrete, it's legal. You can do it's like
in
fully
the U.S.
Good. Yeah, it's fully good now. So
exciting.
Yeah. In fact, according to Green Mountain Technologies, many state regulations for the disposal of cannabis require the cannabis to be mixed at least 50% by 50% volume with non-cannabis waste in order to render the cannabis waste unusable. That's stupid. Bokashi process. The Bokashi process is another compost-style method of recycling cannabis scraps, but involves using a vessel, an organic additive, and time. The process was invented in Japan in the 1980s, and like composting, it's a natural way of breaking down the organic material and turning them into reusable substances. Cannabis disposable companies, like I said, you can start one, find out about what needs to be done, so and what you can and can't do with that cannabis waste. So. Landfills. While the last place someone would expect cannabis waste to end up is a landfill taking up space. Still in the U.S., this is a legal option and potentially final resting place for cannabis scraps. Whew. So, cannabis waste. You don't think about it. All you think about is what you're smoking.
Right.
And there's so much that comes after it, So, hopefully they get better at it, Who the hell's smoking weed in the U.S.?
Oh,
Break it down.
Yeah, I'm going to break it down. I got an article. Who's smoking weed in the U.S.? And here's a breakdown. Thanks. I think you should just let you read the titles of my articles because you do it better.
You know why I do? It's the setup for you.
Yes, you set it up. But then I don't know if I'm like, am I supposed to then say the title again? Because you just said the title.
Just go into it, Mrs. Weedman.
Okay, just go into it. All right. Well, I'm going into it. As this landscape of cannabis users continues to shift, here are some interesting findings demonstrating exactly who is smoking weed these days. If you're at a Pink Floyd light show, the odds are the person next to you is high. But what about when you're at the grocery store or waiting in a procession for your college diploma or in a voting booth?
Wait, I was high at the grocery store today.
Were you?
I went to the grocery store
was
high.
Smart.
I know, it was nice. Took one nice little hit, and that was good.
Mm-hmm. Cannabis users come in all forms. They don't all look the same, especially in today's world where cannabis is much less associated with its burnout stigma that clung to it during the war on drugs era. In fact, there really is no defined type of user, at least not according to the most recent studies. Usage is up in many categories, from baby boomers to young women. Many states and companies are loosening their laws and policies on drug testing at work, and the odds are that your coworker is a cannabis enthusiast, and or that their interest has gone up significantly. As this landscape of weed consumers continues to shift, here are some interesting findings. Nope, cannabis users aren't lazy stoners. The idea that cannabis users are unmotivated high school dropouts is a stereotype that is disappearing, mostly due to the fact that it's simply not true. According to the most recent Gallup poll, both college graduates and those without a college degree enjoy smoking weed in similar numbers. According to the poll, 12% of college graduates say they consume weed, while 18% of non-graduates say they consume. The authors of a June 2021 study wrote that cannabis users are equal to or more likely to exercise than non-users, adding that the commonly held perception that cannabis users are largely sedentary is not supported by the data on young and middle-aged adults. So the idea that cannabis makes you lose your ambition is not exactly a sound argument. Democrats are more green than Republicans for now. According to the same Gallup poll, 20% of Democrats smoke weed, while only 12% of Republicans say they indulge, with independent voters coming in between the two at 17%. This statistic alone is likely not at all that surprising, seeing how Democrats in power have been historically more supportive of cannabis legalization. However, Republicans and Republican lawmakers are starting to come around to the idea of cannabis legalization, suggesting that perhaps in the not-too-distant future, Republicans may use, or at least support, cannabis as much as Democrats. Several studies, including one poll we recently reported on, suggest that support for cannabis legalization within the Republican Party is on the rise. Republican candidates are even currently supporting and drafting cannabis legislation. This means that in some states, people can vote for a Republican and vote for cannabis legalization at the same time. Times have really changed. Baby boomer pot using is booming. It may have taken several decades, legalization, and a change in the general societal view of weed, but it seems as though baby boomers are starting to embrace cannabis use in their golden years. Consider that not even 10 years ago, 0.4% of adults 65 and older said they had used cannabis in the past year, and now it's 10 times that at 4%. Benjamin Hahn, a New York University School of Medicine professor, told Reuters in 2020. Hahn was also the lead author of a study conducted by JAMA Internal Medicine, which discovered this increased cannabis usage he mentioned. While this group still does not consume cannabis nearly as much as younger generations, the increase means that there is perhaps less of a wall between generations when it comes to weed as some might think. The future of cannabis is female. While many demographics have shown an increase in cannabis use, none have shot up recently as much as Gen Z women. Year-over-year sales for Gen Z women, defined as those born in 1997 or later, grew the fastest in 2020 compared to any other cohort at 151%, reported NBC News. There are many possible reasons for this large spike. Some reasons include the ease and inviting atmosphere of cannabis retail facilities, and also the growing interest in using low doses of weed to treat anxiety and other conditions instead of prescriptions. The future of cannabis is female, said Bethany Gomez, managing director at Brightfield Group. I totally agree with that.
I agree.
I think about all my nieces, our daughter, and our son, and their friends. The girls smoke the weed. The girls smoke weed as much as the guys do, and some of them
smoke more.
Yeah.
One of O-Dog's friends,
Yeah.
man, she outsmokes
Yeah.
me.
I got a couple nieces who know how to.
Oh yeah, they get
Hit a
smoked too.
joint.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that we.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness.
But really, I think that it comes down to the fact that that generation is like weed was legalized in California
In a
since
lot
they
of the
were
state-
young,
in a
since
lot
they
of the
were really
states,
young.
Yeah.
So and then has become legal as they've grown,
As
they've
2012
become
in
legal.
Colorado
Yeah.
did it, and in Washington, and then I mean, it's just like they've seen,
They've seen the
and
change.
their kids will never know that weed was. They'll know the history that it was illegal at one point, but they'll never see by the time
They
their
don't know the
kids-
stigmas. They
Yeah.
never felt it
Yeah.
because they didn't grow up with it.
Yep. So, all right. President Biden. We all know what he did. It's been all over the news. Everything is all about it. I did a little post on it. It's good, bad, or indifferent about it. Like I said, there's so much to talk about though on it, and I don't want to take up a lot of time on this because it is a good thing. Is it enough thing? No. Is it a bad thing? No. Is it a political ploy? Who knows? Is it to get votes? Who cares? Are they both hypocrites? Yes. There's so much. So many people are posting so much stuff. Here's the good thing about it. They finally recognized it. And is it too late? No, but they recognize it. 6,400 people for a simple cannabis conviction, because that's what they called it, a simple cannabis conviction on the federal level is like under an ounce. 6,400 people be let out, so now we're down to 33,600 people that still need to get out of prison, that we're still fighting for. That's the way you look at it.
Right.
So it's 6,400 people that are out.
Still a lot to go.
Still fucking so much to go. And some of you states out there, when President Biden said you should let your nonviolent cannabis criminals out, and you told them no, shame on you in your states. And I hope you guys get all voted out because you suck. Because nobody should be in jail for a nonviolent cannabis crime if you're selling weed. And that's what they didn't do. They didn't get people out for selling weed, like large amounts that's nonviolent. They didn't get people out who grew weed and got caught.
It's like the dude walking down the street with a joint.
Right.
And he's in jail for 10 years.
Right. So,
Right?
I mean, there's so much. All I'm going to say is it's a start. It's already being talked about with the health secretary and FDA about cannabis rescheduling review. That's in the works. They should just take it off the schedule altogether. Just consider it a plant that has psychoactive effects on it. The decriminalization status is what really needs to happen more so than anything. We need to study this plant. We need to look what happened to a person working in the cannabis industry dying from breathing in keef. If this wasn't federally illegal, we would have known about this. So there's so much that we haven't done, and we're so far behind, and there's so many studies that need to happen. It's just like a game. It's the carrot game. Like, I'm going to give you a little piece of the carrot. I'm going to dangle the carrot in front of you again, and they'll use it more as a ploy. It's sad, but it's something. And like I said, something is better than nothing. It's just I don't know what to say because it's just not enough. It just makes me aggravated. I was so pissed about it. I think that's why I was so like bummed because it's like I don't know. It just sucks. So they could have done so much more, and it's
a big start,
aggravating.
even if it is for political motivations and his own betterment. It's a start.
But they put most of these people in jail. That's the problem. That's what aggravates me.
Oh, that, yeah.
You know?
I lost track.
That's
Yes.
okay. That's what they. I mean, Kamala Harris put over 2,000 people in prison for cannabis. Joe Biden wrote half of these laws you see today,
And now he's turning them around.
and great. Maybe great. They're coming around. Maybe they've seen their error of their ways. I don't know. It's just. Paulie, our son, I was talking to me. He goes, How do you feel about it? And I was like, do you really want to go into it? I'll give you just a couple things. And he's like, well, you should at least be happy. I said, I am happy something. And I just mentioned the political stuff. He's like, well, don't you think everybody does that when it comes to? I'm like, yes, they do. It just aggravates me that they're doing it with something so pure that could be. It just pisses me off.
They could have just done it for the right reason because it should
Yes.
be done instead of doing it to get elected,
Yes.
to get a demographic
Yes.
to be on their side.
Right.
Right. But at the same time, it got the ball rolling on a lot of big things.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm not going to go into like
At a
more,
federal level, they're starting to
recognize some stuff.
start talking. That's a big deal.
It is.
So-
but they've always been
so,
talking
I
about
know,
it. It's
I
been in
know.
people's faces for
But
so
I think
long.
finally they're just like, you know what? Let's shit or get off the pot. Let's just do this shit.
I don't know. I'm just fucking just I don't know. I'm going to let it go. Time to decriminalize weed for good, though. And no matter how much time passes, cannabis will always seem up for debate, especially when it comes to drug testing before a job. Why does an employee care what you do outside of work? Yeah, I warn about that all the time myself. You are not getting paid for being off the clock, so why do they care what you do when you're done, when you're not with them? And it's 2022. It's time for weed to be decriminalized. But the chance is halted by a small plastic cup, and it doesn't even have to be recent. Weed can stay in your system not only for days or weeks, but sometimes even months. You don't even have to be a frequent smoker to stay in your system for long. People of different backgrounds and age groups are now intaking cannabis products more than ever. There's still that stigma that weed makes you move slowly and be lazy, amongst other things, like being a bad person. Oh, man, it's time we realize how much it's actually helping others. Cannabis has also helped many people who are struggling with their mental health. There are people with anxiety disorders who resort to more natural ways of relaxing instead of taking medications. There are also others that help them ease the pain of long-term injury, and they should not feel the need to share that information with their employer if they do not want to. We live in a world where there are Netflix shows about cooking with weed, when there are people unable to get a normal 9-to-5 job for smoking cannabis on their own time. The Farmer and the Felon is a weed company that's dedicated to helping out those incarcerated for nonviolent cannabis charges, and together. That is why it's ultimately a good thing that Governor Newsom signed off on a bill that protects employees for the cannabis use during off-the-clock hours. No job should penalize their workers for something they do off the clock. They would not penalize someone for grabbing a beer after work. Both substances are used for the same reason, relaxation. As we move forward, more people realize that smoking weed doesn't make you a bad person or a good one. So why get judged solely on that? A job should simply judge you for the performance and the hard work you put in. In general, when it comes to cannabis, we definitely come a long way, and we're not done. Laws are passed to legalize cannabis, yet there are still people in prison for the possession of cannabis. We can finally start helping people who are convicted for carrying weed and need to move forward with weed be freeing people with weed convictions. I love that article. So I think it's great. Steve D'Angelo
Yeah.
calls for toppling of corporate cannabis.
Yeah. He wrote a pretty big article. So, Steve D'Angelo is the founder of Harborside, founder of the Last Prisoner Project, author of the Cannabis Manifesto, and a longtime cannabis advocate, entrepreneur, and investor. He released an op-ed this week across multiple cannabis publications calling for the industry to reject the pyramid-shaped business model prioritized by large cannabis corporations and multi-state operators. Titled, Save the Cannabis Industry, Topple the Pyramids, the article describes the blissful pre-legalization era of the California medical market, a time when the industry worked in its basic purpose of providing high-quality cannabis at affordable prices and providing all of its participants with an adequate income and dignified lifestyle. But everything changed, D'Angelo writes, after California voted to legalize adult use cannabis. He describes the collapse of California's legacy market as most medical growers were locked out of licenses, the advent of corporate finances, and the emphasis these newcomers placed on the ability to scale. The article also describes the costly and slow industry rollout in Canada, where big players started big moves to capture large sections of the federally legal industry. In Canada, only 20% of cannabis produced since 2018 has actually been sold, he writes. 80% of the such 80, I'm sorry, I can't even believe this. 80% was of such low quality that it had to be destroyed or is still warehoused, resulting in a loss of 11 billion Canadian dollars of investors' money. Rather than continuing down this path of wasting millions upon millions of dollars trying to gobble up a market share that will ultimately still be dwarfed by the unfettered, unregulated marketplace, D'Angelo dreams of the industry's return to small business. Thousands of legacy artisan producers could get into the industry without the need for crazy amounts of capital, he writes. And instead of a handful of multi state operators jostling for brand awareness, he imagines cute tourist trap villages full of cannabis artisans,
Yeah.
or even just a digital marketplace for cannabis cultivators to connect directly with consumers, something like an Etsy for weed, he writes. That same sentiment was reflected recently in a federal proposal by U.S. Reps Jared Huffman from California and Earl Blumenauer from Oregon, which seeks to let small-scale cannabis cultivators operate on a direct-to-consumer model once the plant is finally legalized nationwide. That's awesome. And where that plan realized big cannabis companies would be freed from the thankless and impossible task of producing high-quality cannabis in massive facilities, D'Angelo writes, they could stop disappointing their investors and focus instead on an achievable goal, providing the financing, infrastructure, and marketing capacity that small producers will need to succeed. In an interview with Ganjapreneur, D'Angelo said that while the industry's failures have become a source of extreme heartbreak for him in recent years, he reached his tipping point after someone asked him whether it was even ethical to be encouraging legacy operators to be coming into such a broken system. The question surprised and stuck with him. When asked about getting cannabis investors and venture capitalists on board with changing the status quo, he recommended they learn from what's already happened. Over the course of the last 5 years, the scaled-up model has lost $11 billion of investors' money, he said. So if you feel like losing more money, go ahead and keep buying into that model, which has proven not to work. Instead of buying up more licenses or pursuing regulations that lock up the supply chain and create even more artificial bottlenecks for high-quality product, D'Angelo recommends investors look instead to other sections of the cannabis economy, such as the federally legal hemp and cannabis tourism industries. But until the cannabis industry has seen that mutually beneficial reset, the boom and bust cycle will continue.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. Good article though.
He's right.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, seen it in the craft beer industry, that's for sure. Right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. International news: cannabis crossing borders, global flower trade in 2022. Gonna be big business, man. It's gonna be big. Oh gosh, so big. The United States cannabis market keeps to itself, but Canadian cannabis costs negate global early entrant advantage. Canada is still at the heavyweight of the export and based its entire overbuilding and overgrowing models on robust international future trade. Shame. You did it too soon, though, Canada. Unsurprisingly, money moved faster than the cannabis regulations worldwide. The public markets have suffered since 2019 from the fiscal hangover and continue to do so. 3 years later, the Canadian survivors are those who have become the largest exporters and feed the local markets. South America works to match world cannabis demand. South America quickly adapted to the progress in cannabis of their northern neighbors. South American market entrants understand that not only is their climate more beneficial for growing, but they can also secure labor and general cost at a premium compared to North American markets. Uruguay emerged as the self-proclaimed global distributor for South American cannabis and made regulations beneficial to achieve that goal. Good for them. All eyes on the European green wave. Europe is the most watched cannabis growing region to date. Beneficial regulatory environment steadily increased demand, drawing growers worldwide, and local production ramped up. Countries like Portugal cemented their position as the largest cannabis cultivating exporters in the EU. Portugal hosts 19 working facilities and powerhouses. It has over 100 additional pre-license applications in the works and exported over 30 tons of product in 2021. Man, it's just, it's a lot. It's going to be a lot of water. That's all I can think about. A lot of water. Africa emerges on the cannabis world stage with significant advantages. Africa, especially South Africa and Lesotho, has become a powerhouse in large-scale growing operations designed to export into the global markets. Initially, Canopy made significant investments. There's 70 operating licenses in South of Africa, and their low production costs have attracted buyers in Israel, EU, and Australia. Good for them. Australia has a big appetite for cannabis imports. Australia was an early adopter on the opposite side of the globe in North America. Not only does Australia have a good infrastructure for homegrown products, but demand has been so robust that they're a large importer. Australia is home to many global companies. Their neighbors in New Zealand are expected to improve their regulatory framework, which will open more trade to Australia. Australia is expected to be a large importer as demand in the region is outpacing local production. Jeez. Asian cannabis market rocked by Thai entry. Finally, Asia is heating up to be the entry of Thailand into the international cannabis scene. Thai sticks, baby. Get me those fucking Thai sticks. Just ship them right to my fucking door. That's all I ask. Thailand cultivators came out of nowhere this year and have been making their presence known in the global markets with boast of low-cost production anywhere in the world. Good for Thailand. Cannabis will continue to increasingly crisscross the globe. Cannabis is sweeping the globe in airplanes from lower-cost producers to mature markets sharing great genetic flower power. Demand is increasing worldwide, and growers are becoming much more agile to adapt to new markets and produce properly regulated flowers for export and import. What was once a prophecy of greener international market is now a reality, and it's only growing faster and more robust. Crazy. Bees. We love bees.
I do.
And the thing I learned this year about bees was don't mow your lawn until like late May, because the bees that come out in April and you have your first like few plants and weeds like your dandelions that come out and stuff, like don't cut those either. Wait to mow your lawn and let the bees get that first feeding of the year because they're coming from hibernation. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. So why do bees love weed?
Well, research shows the cannabis extract CBD can improve the health of honeybees, which is good news for farmers. Isn't it beautiful? A friend once asked me as we shared a joint in the Netherlands. We're only smoking flowers. She was right. Cannabis, the dried and processed product of cannabis sativa plants, is the flowery part, as opposed to tobacco and tea leaves. When people say that they enjoy smoking bud, it's meant literally. Despite how obvious this may seem, it's always struck me as awe-inspiring. While humans clearly love these flowers, so do insects, especially bees, albeit for different reasons. And just like medical cannabis has been shown to improve human health by effectively treating epilepsy, chronic pain, chemotherapy, nausea, and more, insects can benefit from cannabis as well. Honeybee health is extremely important to farmers who rely on the flying little workers to pollinate more than 100 different crops, which provides about $6.4 billion in annual economic value. But against a backdrop of catastrophic insect decline driven by the overuse of pesticides and unchecked urbanization, honeybee populations are suffering. Parasites, diseases, and pesticides have contributed to widespread honeybee deaths, a phenomenon known as colony collapse disorder. In some cases, tens of thousands of bees would drop dead in days, sometimes wiping out an entire hive. While this trend is slowly being reversed, it's still a big concern for beekeepers and those who enjoy eating most fruits and vegetables. In an attempt to improve honeybee health, researchers at the University of Life Sciences in Lublin, Poland, have tried feeding their bugs many different substances, including caffeine, black pepper extract, and curcumin, the main ingredient in turmeric. Despite some positive results, none of these substances have been a silver bullet. They don't seem to be able to balance effectiveness with strict safety requirements necessary in beekeeping. So a group of Polish researchers have turned to hemp extracts. Hemp is cannabis that is low in THC, the chemical responsible for the stony high feeling. In contrast, hemp is high in CBD, a chemical largely associated with the medical benefits of cannabis. Previous research by this team has shown that hemp extracts increase the lifespan of honeybees and could help them with the fight against environmental pollution and the increase of oxidative stress. But they weren't exactly sure how this was happening. Newly published results in the journal Animals took a closer look at the immune system of honeybees after being given CBD to tease out their mechanisms that could make bees healthier. In this experiment, they also kept the bees outside, exposing them to more environmental stress, while previous trials mostly used caged bees. This means the results may reflect better what a honeybee would encounter in the real world. Bees have very different immune systems than humans. They don't exactly have blood, but a liquid called hemolymph, and it functions about the same way. Instead of livers, honeybees have a fat body that doubles as nutrient storage and an immune shield that fights viruses and other pathogens. So, how does a compound like CBD work on both humans and bugs if we're so different? In this experiment, there were 3 groups of bees, with 320 bees sampled in total. Some were fed CBD in a sugary syrup, some were given CBD via a cotton strip placed in the hive, and the rest acted as controls, fed nothing but sugar and glycerin. Every few days, the researchers took some bees and extracted their hemolymph, which was analyzed for certain biomarkers that indicate good health. The bees on CBD not only lived longer than controls, they had higher concentrations of biomarkers such as albumin, a protein that acts against inflammation. The higher concentration of total protein in the group supplemented with CBD indicate a higher production of immune proteins in the bee's organism. The authors wrote, leading them to conclude that CBD extract may prove to be a good supplement and can have positive effects on the immune system of honeybees. It likely wouldn't be difficult or expensive to give honeybee colonies CBD, so this may be a good tool for farmers to help grow their favorite pollinators. Besides, they can grow the plant and the extract of CBD themselves, a strategy increasingly suggested by experts. Even though hemp does not produce any nectar, bees are huge fans of this plant because it pumps out large amounts of pollen. In 2018, researchers from Cornell University visited 11 hemp farms across the Finger Lakes region of New York and noted that hemp flowers supported 16 different bee species. Their research, published in Environmental Entomology, reported hemp has the potential to provide a critical nutritional resource to a diverse community of bees during a period of floral scarcity. Similarly, a 2019 study in Colorado observed 23 different types of bees swarming hemp flowers, leading the authors to strongly urge farmers to use hemp to develop an integrated pest management plan designed to protect pollinators while controlling pests. In other words, bees really love weed, and it may even be good for them. However, it's really worth noting that honeybees aren't truly facing extinction, despite what you may have heard from certain bee-friendly corporations. The yellow and black bug that we've all come to associate with honey is just one species, Apis mellifera, the European honeybee. It's a domesticated species not actually native to North America and was brought over by colonizers. Indigenous peoples relied on other bees, of which there are nearly 4,000 other species, for pollinating their crops. Honeybees are extremely important, yes, but they are agricultural animals, akin to tiny flying chickens or cows. They are no more at risk of dying out than any other factory-farmed creature. Colony collapse disorder is a genuine problem, as it makes things harder for farmers, but it is unlikely to ever truly eradicate the honeybee. The issue also seems to be improving. A 2020 report from the USDA reported that honeybee colonies had risen 8% from the year before. However, other pollinators like native bee species, butterflies, flies, and bats are at a risk of extinction thanks to pesticides, habitat loss, and climate change. Conservation efforts should focus on preserving the less visible insects as well. The Polish researchers didn't test if CBD could help other bugs, but it might work just as well given the similarities in bee immune systems. This is a long one. Sorry, it just basically Bees
We need them.
and CBD. We need them both.
We need them both. Man, if CBD is good for bees, it's good for us. Man.
Yep. They end it by saying, let's develop strategies for improving the health of all beneficial insects, not just the ones who give us honey.
There you go.
Honey, 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 honey.
Well, we like his music, so I'm going to play it for him. Snoop Dogg says his cannabis-infused onion rings may make you say, "Ooh wee!"
He has like pancake batter now.
Got a lot of
and
shit going
syrup.
on. Good for him, man.
love it.
It's awesome. I love it. So he's got these cannabis-infused crispy onion rings, kind of like a Funyuns. It's called Snazzles O's onions.
I want some Snazzle.
I want some Snazzle O's too.
I'm gonna find some.
So, let's see here. I don't need to read the whole article, but dosed with a hybrid strain of cannabis extract, the snacks will be exclusively available in California at locations began October 6th for 2 weeks before expanding to other dispensaries throughout the state. The company's focused solely on salty, savory snacks. The chocolate and gummy edible market is oversaturated. Sumo Snack co-founder and CEO Carolyn Ye said it's really hard to compete in the space. Savory edibles are more difficult to produce as well. There are others out there that aren't best tasting and they're not super well branded. You know what? All right. I like gummies. They're great. They're fun. But I will say this, the stuff that Mrs. Weedman makes, I enjoy tremendously. Gummies have their place. Don't get me wrong. They're great. Man, going out, pop a gummy, you know exactly what you're getting. But nothing better than a home cookie or a brownie or a smoochie or just some of the popcorn my brother infuses and some of the root beer he's made. There's nothing better than a home edible. I'm just sorry. It's just so fucking good. You don't want to stop eating them. The granola bars Mrs. Weedman makes, fucking unreal. Oh my gosh. Eating them without weed in them and eating with weed in them, there's nothing better than a home fucking edible. Sorry. So I agree with Snoop and I agree with Carolyn Yee about like having some different stuff. Like give me a 10 milligram bag of fucking these crispy O's, man. I'll fucking eat like a Funyun, man. If they're like a Funyun, spicy one, mix them both together. If they're 20 milligrams, I'm fucking love you and I eat that both bags and have fun, you know? And because we're sitting at home watching a movie, right?
Right.
You're right. So we infuse popcorn with our own butter and stuff like that and get fucking baked because I want to enjoy like having like a snack, you know? So good for Snoop and good for his partner, you know, in the company and stuff like that. Just realizing, you know, man, make some fun shit, you know, that people can eat a bunch of. I don't want a 100 milligram bag of fucking edibles. I want a 10 milligram bag or a 20 milligram bag of like a big bag of Doritos. You know, 20 milligrams. I can eat that whole bag. Right?
Yeah.
You and I can share it. Not one of the big bags,
No,
but
right,
you know what I mean,
right.
you know? So, like, not even the snack bag. What's the medium-sized bag?
A grab bag.
No, not the small one. Like
The
you put
one
in
that
lunch.
your mom put in your lunch that had like 5 chips in it.
Not
was
that.
The
I don't want
snack bag.
that. Yeah, I don't want the snack bag. I want the other one.
taller bag that would
Yes.
be like at your drugstore or like your 7-Eleven would be a grab bag.
Grab bag. That's the size I want. And I want it to be like 15 milligrams.
Then you've got
or
like
20
family bag,
milligrams.
and then you've got the party size.
Yeah, you know your shit, Mrs. Weedman. And why did I go to the grocery store today? I went to the grocery store today, and I'm terrible at grocery shopping. I got stoned to
The
go.
big grab, I think.
Right.
Not grab bag. The
So
big grab.
my whole time, I went by myself, and I went full-blown grocery shopping. Usually I go to the store, run to the store, and grab a few things, but I went full-blown grocery shopping, which I'm not very good at. Not very good at going to the store. So I just don't like it. It's not that I go when I have to. Ms. Weedman, go to the grocery store. All right, I went to the grocery store. I got stoned before I went, and it was such a pleasant experience. And it wasn't very busy. Tuesday afternoon is the way to go. It's not crowded at all, and I can go through the aisles and look and not feel like I'm in someone's way because some old lady might hit you with their cart because you're in front of their baking goods. That's why I get nervous because I don't know where to stand. in a grocery store. Like there's grocery store etiquette, and I feel like I'm uneducated with grocery store etiquette. I feel like I fuck up a lot, so it makes me nervous when I go to the grocery store.
Oh my gosh.
But going high today was a whole different experience, and I went in the afternoon, and I was in and out in, I don't know, 45 minutes, and I got everything I think we needed. But I bought Ziploc bags at the grocery store, and I was told today never buy Ziploc bags at the grocery store because they're overpriced. So I screwed up. But on one thing, I came home with that fucking cheese and fucking caramel popcorn. Though made you happy.
that was a win. That was a big win. I was like, wow.
That was good, right?
It was, yeah.
It was either a donut from Stan's.
I thought you might come home with a donut.
I said fuck it because last time we didn't eat them all. I'm not wasting the money. I'm not even getting one. I got you the popcorn instead.
It was good.
I know it was good. I picked some good apples out too. So grocery store, Mr. Weedman, I'll have to do a reel one day when you guys all make fun of me about it. But like the worst part about the whole grocery store was when I saw that fucking $181 bill for only like 6 bags. I almost threw up. I'm like, what?
We didn't even get anything.
I didn't get nothing.
Nothing. And we just went grocery shopping. Like I just picked stuff up the other day.
Oh my gosh.
nuts.
Fucking, I feel bad. I look at that grocery bill, man. It's just the two of us and it was that much. Imagine if
I
we
feel
had.
bad for families.
Yeah.
And then we were talking about like the fact that now these prices have gone here, even if there's a recession, they're not going to scale back grocery prices and eating out, the cost of eating out. They're not going to scale it back because we're used to it already.
Yeah. We got duped. Suckered.
Damn it.
Bamboozled. Hornswoggled.
Wham, bam.
Hey, once again, everybody, I'd like to thank the Metro Black for throwing a fucking phenomenal party. The Green Tent. Amazing night. I'm so proud of you, the Metro Black, man. Thank you for the invite. It was such a good night. Shout out to you. And I know it takes a lot of work and it takes a team to do it, but you did it, man. I'm proud of you. Proud of you, my friend. And I can't wait for you to throw your next one because we'll have our tray set and we want to be a vendor at your fucking next party because it was so much fun. Now I'm just going to fucking stuff joints for people again because my new strain will be ready. It's 2 strains. So that's going good too. Struggle, I'll talk about that in the next episode. But hopefully everyone out there is loving the new show too with Big Earl. It's been a lot of fun. Sound, I'm working on it. I apologize. I'm going to not do Skype. Skype sucks for recording, doing a show like that. I'm looking into something better. Programs, so hopefully down the line we will have better sounding shows for everybody out there because we're getting good responses and we appreciate y'all out there for listening. We really do. So, Mrs. Weedman,
Mr. Weedman,
got anything else to say?
have a wonderful week, everybody.
Everybody out there, have a great week. We love you out there. Thanks for listening around the world. Peace be with you all. As Paulie always says, smoke smart, puff puff and away.
Puff, puff, pass.